Hello there. Welcome back to the podcast. We are continuing an exciting series on the book, This Can't Be Normal. I wrote the book, This Can't Be Normal, for those of you that are new here or haven't listened in a while. This Can't Be Normal took me a little over 5 years to put together. Just under 5 years to write and put together. And it really names the experience of leaders. So it's called This Can't Be Normal, What to Do When Success Starts to Feel Like Survival. So today I want to talk about the hidden forces that keep knocking leaders off balance. One of the things that I do as a leadership mentor, a coach, and a guide is I work with leaders one-on-one. And the reason why I actually won't ever stop working with leaders one-on-one is because only in the one-on-one can you actually be aware and listen to patterns of what people are saying. And so I speak on stages and I coach groups and I work with leaders and leadership teams of all different sizes. There is a level of mastery that is earned when you work with people one-on-one. Because after I work with people one-on-one, I look at the game film, very similar to how elite athletes and Olympians and performers do, where they look at their game film. How did they show up and what could they do better? So besides for me looking at how did I show up in that conversation and what can I do better, I'm also looking for what are the patterns that are showing up in this conversation and in all the other conversations that I'm having with leaders in small schools of 1 or 2 centers, in larger corporations of 10 to 20, all the way up to 100, all the way to several $1-million portfolios of schools. So there's a moment that I see again and again and again with very strong leaders specifically. And it usually sounds something like this. I actually feel really good about where we are right now. And not in an arrogant way or a complacent way. It's a very grounded response to, I feel really good. The systems are built. My team is capable. The fires are quieter than, what they used to be. And yet, right beneath that confidence, there's a subtle tension because the leader knows that the moment there's one big change or a destabilizer or something that comes in, they don't really know how steady it actually is. And so if you've ever felt that kind of knowing of a mix of pride and unease at the exact same time, you're in good company. Come sit on the couch with me. We're going to have a conversation. Okay? So the subtle mistake that happens at this stage of scale and at this stage of growth is there's an assumption that the confidence in where you are right now should mean stability. That if you build something strong enough, then it will stay put. It will be stable and will be stable all the time. So then when disruption shows up, the leader starts to question themselves. Did I miss something? Did I overestimate our readiness? Why does this feel fragile when I've done so many things right? Leadership and your school doesn't break or become wobbly or unstable because you are wrong or you did something wrong or you didn't install step 79 on your checklist. It breaks because you are not aware of the disruptive forces that will always come. I was on a call with an owner who owns 5 locations, and she said something really honest to me. She said, the school can run without any major issues. And so I want to bring someone in who can help us grow. She wanted to bring in like a regional who could sit under her to really free me up. And I said, that's a really good statement, but it's incomplete. Why is it incomplete? Because there are disruptive forces that no amount of steadiness or infrastructure can prevent you from. Because they are not signs of failure, they are not mistakes, and they are not poor planning. It's the environment that we live in. There are going to be disruptions that you cannot control. And so I'm going to walk you through the 3 disruptive forces that you have zero control over, but you must be able to adapt to. And when you're aware of these disruptive forces, then you stop looking at disruption and wobbling or, a spike of something or a dip of something as personal or moral failures. And you have to go get more systems or more software. And you actually look at it as, oh, I'm human. I'm alive. I'm in a world that I can't predict every single outcome. Oh, I'm not God. Yes. So nice to meet your humanity. You are not God, which means you do not create all of the weather predictions and all of the ways that the environment is going to change around you. You do not have control of it as much as I know you want to. And trust me, I do also. Sometimes I really wish I could be in charge of things, but then I'm like, actually, I really don't, because I think God does a much better job than me. So I'm going to share the 3 disruptive forces, okay? The first one that I call, and all of this is in chapter 4 of my book, This Can't Be Normal. And this is where I go in depth and I give a lot of examples. And I really accompany you as a guide, sherpering you up the mountain. And hopefully you feel really witnessed and really seen in those moments. So the earthquake is the first force, and it's the structural force. And the earthquakes are these giant shifts, right? They're the ones that move the ground under everything. So that's a wage hike, a new regulation, a competitor opening next door, a new governor changing policy, opening up another location, hiring or losing a key leader. All of these things are structural forces. You don't control that. None of these events means that your systems are wrong, but every single one of these destabilizes all of your systems. And this is where leaders panic, because they think, but I just got stable, but I just got predictability. Yeah, but the ground didn't announce that it's going to move now. It just moved anyways. So the second force is the wind, and it's the relational forces. And these are the forces that you cannot schedule, you cannot predict, you cannot control. Okay? You cannot control when someone has a baby on your team. You cannot control when someone's parent dies. You cannot control when one of your key team members gets divorced. You cannot control when one of your team members' spouses gets relocated and now they have to move. You have absolutely zero control over whether the person that you love working with will even be here in 6 months from now because of things outside of your control. And yet leaders absorb the emotional and operational impact anyways, which is why leadership is so personal, because it is. I don't like the statement, it's not personal, it's business. No, it is personal. I like this person, but they're getting divorced now. And so their capacity has basically collapsed into like 2% from 90%. And now their output and where the business is going feels so destabilizing. You just took on another location and now she's like, sayonara, I have no capacity for this. Or someone else walks in, this happened to us, and she's like, hey, so I'm pregnant with twins and I'm going to have to go on bed rest at 32 weeks. So, yeah, see ya. You can't control that, but your business has to respond anyways. And that's what feels so destabilizing, because you don't have control over these forces, right? The third force is the fog, and it's what I call the perceptual force. And the fog is the most disorienting force of all. Fog is the uncertainty. It's the second guessing. It's is this actually a problem for me to solve, or is this just noise? It's not knowing where to focus. Fog shows up anytime something new enters the system. A new leader, a new role, a new phase, a new season, a new hire. Everyone starts to calibrate themselves to the new nervous system of the building. So stress levels shift, expectations feel unclear again, confidence wobbles. Nothing is technically wrong, but everything feels so unstable. And this is where leaders spiral. I thought we were ready for this. And you were, but readiness doesn't eliminate disruption. Readiness doesn't eliminate disruption. It determines how you will meet the disruption, right? Your capacity, you can have a tremendous amount of capacity. That doesn't absolve you from the disruptive forces of the outside world. It means you might be able to meet it better, but it doesn't absolve you from actually needing those forces. That is the part that leaders do not get taught. That's why I wrote this book, This Can't Be Normal. So the missing question is, instead of asking, how do I stop the disruption? Because like I said a few minutes ago, you can't control that. The real question is, what do we return to when disruption shows up? What do we return to when disruption shows up? Because disruption isn't danger. It's disorienting and feels a little destabilizing, but it's not unsafe. It's not danger. So when I was talking to that client who I mentioned in the beginning of the episode who wanted to hire a regional, I said, she is going to be a destabilizing force and a disruptive force herself, not because she's not good or she's wrong, but because change in itself is destabilizing. So she might be coming in to stabilize things, but in the beginning, it will feel very disorienting for the team. And that's called being a mature leader. An immature leader says, you're coming in, you're going to save me. I'm not going to have to do this shit anymore. And it's like, no, bringing someone in is going to feel disorienting and destabilizing in the beginning, but it's going to lead to long-term predictability and stability. So when the disruptive forces come in, this is when leaders think they need more control, more systems, more oversight, more involvement, more. But what they actually need and what stabilizes the team during disruptive forces is not a tighter grip. It's return. And it's returning to rhythms, to your standards, to predictable moments, to shared expectations. And I talk about all of those things inside of my book. We have section 2, part 2 of the book is the map to steady leadership. And we have 6 of those chapters are very much focused on how do you return to steady leadership when the disruptive forces show up. And so I was telling this owner of like, you already have your rhythms that you've been practicing and returning to. And so when the new regional comes in, you tell her, these are our rhythms that we return to on our most disruptive days. This is what we return to. We do not do tighter control. We do not do more oversight. We do not do more micromanaging. We return to our rhythms because that is what brings us back home to ourselves. Stability does not come from preventing disruption. It comes from knowing how to return home when disruption arrives. It's a settling inside of the team's nervous system of knowing this is what doesn't change even when disruption shows up. This is what restores and holds us. So they don't panic, they don't scatter, and they don't wait for the leader to rescue them. They reorient themselves and return to their rhythms. When there's no clear home, leaders do what they know how to do, which is grip harder, control more, overfunction. Not because they don't trust the team, but because someone has to hold the center of gravity. And when the center of gravity isn't defined or how to return to the center of gravity, it becomes the leader's nervous system. And that's when leadership becomes unbearable and leaders start collapsing. So if leadership has ever felt that, every new season feels like it's destabilizing you, and every change pulls you back into the state of hypervigilance, or every growth moment carries this unexpected fear, there's nothing wrong with you. You didn't misbuild and you're not too sensitive. You're leading through disruptive forces. And in my book, This Can't Be Normal, it's about building leadership that doesn't collapse when the wind picks up, when the fog rolls in, or when the ground shifts beneath you because of the earthquake. And it's not because you eliminated disruption, but you know deeply in your bones and collectively as a team what you return to when disruption arrives. And that changes everything. Everything. Hey there. If you're the one who notices problems before anyone else does, this is for you. You're the one who sees things first. the tension in the room, the teacher sleeping who just might quit. You're already tracking the consequences. Who will be upset? Who will push back? So even on days that look fine or feel calm, your body doesn't fully stand down. You go to sleep tired and you wake up already bracing. Not because today is chaotic or any day is chaotic, but because something could go wrong. And you know you'll be the one that's holding it. It's the responsibility that can sometimes feel crushing. You stay alert, reliable, and steady because you've seen what happens when things aren't held, when communications slip, when standards soften, when everyone assumes someone else will step in. And because you're so good at holding it, more of it finds its way to you, quietly, gradually, until no one sees how heavy it's become. This is not burnout, and this is not a discipline problem. It's what I call the invisible weight of leadership. If you see yourself in this, or even if your breath changed just a little bit, that's enough. And if you want to keep going and learn more, the opening chapter of my book, This Can't Be Normal, What to Do When Success Starts to Feel Like Survival. My book continues this conversation. You can go ahead and download chapter 1 for free and continue this dialogue. If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do 2 things for me. 1, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And 2, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week. And I appreciate that you have joined us.